Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, how you doing? It's Alexander Hilly123 here, and it's time for a new video. My first pickups video in quite a while today. If you've been watching my videos on the channel, then you'll know in the last 6 weeks or so I've been uploading videos detailing my top 50 albums of the 1990s list. I've done 5, there are 5 to come, so I thought I would break up the monotony of those videos with a pickups video. And it has been ages since my last one. I've not actually looked back on my YouTube to see when my last one was, but I would hazard a guess that it was over 2 months ago, so why not do a new one? I'm going to try and keep this under 10 minutes, but you know I like waffling on, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, after this video, next Sunday, I will load my top 50 albums of the 90s list. That'll take about another 4 to 6 weeks, obviously, and then we'll get back to gameplay, pure gameplay, ladies and gentlemen. Pardon me, I have got some playthroughs in the pipeline, the classic series returning, and a few other fresh ideas as well. It's going to be a good winter on the Alexander Hilly channel as we keep up producing more content than I ever have. I haven't been getting any views really on my albums list in the 90s, which is a shame because I like talking to people about music, finding new stuff and gathering opinions, differing opinions maybe, but we'll see. Anyway, today I have 4 games, ladies and gentlemen, 2 physical, 2 non-physical, which I can't show you but I can talk about. Let's get straight into it. It is Mass Effect, released in 2007, ladies and gentlemen. And I think I actually might have, or I might not have, I totally forgot, referenced this when I was speaking about Dead Space 3. You know, I love the Dead Space games, and I might get Mass Effect because it's kind of, obviously it's in space and everything, but it's a much less violent game. It's not a horror game, but it's an action adventure. There are questions or answers. Yeah, well, multiple choice, you know. If you think of the old Monkey Island Broken Sword games where you get to make decisions and ask questions and whatnot, there's a lot of that as well. And from what I've seen so far, it doesn't impact the game that much, but I've only put about 3 hours worth of gameplay into this. Yeah, I got started on it, really enjoyed it, and then haven't gone back to it. But it's not due to the fact that it's not a good game. I'm just a little bit busy at the moment. But what I will say about this, I think I did say it is an ambitious game. You know, this is released 2007. Yeah, November 2007, so it's nearly 7 years of age now. But it still looks really good. The graphics are bright and colourful and just genuinely very good. You take control of Commander Shepard, or you can make your own character up as well. I made my own character up and then regretted it, to be perfectly honest with you, but oh well, I've done it now. And you get to make up an army, a squad of other players who have all got different skills. And basically, there's some evil aliens, there's some good aliens on your side. Your decisions, I'm sure, as the game progresses, will have consequences. But this isn't a third-person shooter. There's a hell of a lot going on with this game. And they're all critically acclaimed, the Mass Effect games. The third one, supposedly, the ending blew people's tits off. They weren't happy with it. I don't know why. But yeah, if I do enjoy this, I would get the second and third game. But I haven't fully gotten into it yet. But I can tell you that it is a very, very good game already. I am enjoying it. I just need to get back into it. There's a bonus disc here, ladies and gentlemen, as well. It's 2 discs. And I believe the bonus disc has exclusive behind-the-scenes documentaries, extensive interactive design galleries, and music tracks from the award-winning original score. And yeah, the music on this game is absolutely fantastic. Great voice acting, graphics are good, building your own squad is good fun. The shooting is a little bit quirky in my opinion. It's not the best. But it's only a 12, so it's not ultra violent. And I like my violent video games, obviously. My horror, but yeah, you only get 3 people in your squad. I think I've currently got a woman who's pretty attractive. I can't remember her name. An alien. I think he's that guy right there. And another fella as well. But they've all got different traits and skills. But you never know what you're going to need. You never know what's around the corner. But Mass Effect, if you like space, action, adventure, going across the galaxy, some really far-fetched storyline, but a great storyline nevertheless, then I highly recommend it. I need to get back into that. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be talking about a first-person game that I enjoyed. And I don't have this physically, but I bought it off the Xbox Live Arcade for free. Well worth it, I reckon. It is Dishonored, a stealth action-adventure game released by published by Bethesda Softworks and Arcane Studios. It was released in October 2012 on Windows, PS3 and Xbox 360, set in the fictional, plague-ridden industrial city of Dunwall. Dishonored follows the story of Corvo Atteno, bodyguard to the Empress of the Isles. He is framed for her murder and forced to become an assassin seeking revenge on those who conspired against him. Corvo is aided in his quest by the Loyalists, a resistance group fighting to reclaim Dunwall, and the Outsider, a powerful being who imbues Corvo with magical abilities. And on this game, ladies and gentlemen, as well, there's quite a few big voice actors and actresses. You've got a woman called Chloe Grace Moritz, who's been in quite a few things. Carrie Fisher, Michael Madsen, Susan Sarandon. The protagonist, the guy who you play as, is mute. It seems like that is becoming quite a common thing in games these days, and I'm not sure I like it, to be honest with you. Obviously, I already referenced it when talking about Mass Effect, but I absolutely love the first Dead Space game. Well, I love the first two, like the third, and I even got the T-shirt now. I pretty much like it. It's pretty cool. And Isaac in the first game is mute as well, of course. He never speaks, so it takes away an element of realism of it. But at the same time, you know why they've done it, so you can be that character and all that kind of shit. That's what they say. I guess everyone's going to have different opinions on that. But yeah, Dishonored, I haven't completed it yet. I've done about 4 or 5 missions, but this is a really engrossing game. Great graphics, great gameplay, great voice acting, a hell of a lot of things to do in the game, lots of side quests and side missions, an ability to do things in a different way. And if you mess up, you can load up your last save or your last checkpoint constantly and go back where you were. So you can experiment with different ways of killing the enemies or getting around them. I think you can morph to different places in the blink of an eye to avoid being seen by the enemies, which can work, sometimes doesn't. It all depends on timing. You can see through walls, which is my favourite magic ability. You can make there be a huge blast of wind, which can either knock down or kill an enemy. But the more stealthy you are, the easier the game becomes in a way. Because obviously there's more enemies, which is more difficult. But if you kill a lot of enemies, then the rats, bloody hell, they will obviously devour the dead bodies and eat them. And things just get very chaotic. And the game tells you that there will be consequences for playing the game in that way. But like I said, I've been quite stealthy. I've been enjoying the game that way. But when I do complete it, I just want to go balls out and shoot everything in sight. You get a crossbow with sleep darts, a normal crossbow with arrows to kill the enemies, and incendiary crossbows as well, which blow shit up, obviously. Not very stealthy at all. You get a gun with different ammo. You get a few different... you got lots of power-ups as well. There's all sorts going on in this game. Like I said, it really is beautiful to look at. Great voice acting. I need to get back into it. It's been a month or so since I played it now. But I'm just a little bit busy at the moment, and I'm playing the same game over and over at the moment, which I will get to in a second. But yeah, Dishonored, if you've never played it, first-person, stealth, action-adventure game, really engrossing. I highly recommend it, ladies and gentlemen. Not free now, obviously, on the Xbox Live Arcade. Probably cost you $10 or so, but it's well worth it, and I wouldn't be surprised to see a sequel in the future on the Xbox One and PS4. But yeah, really enjoyed Dishonored. Very good game. Didn't think I'd enjoy it. Need to get back into it. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the third game in the pickups video today. This isn't physical either, but I did pay for it. It wasn't free on the Xbox Live Arcade. Well, the first episode was, and I got that about a year ago. And then I played it and thought, right, I'm going to have to get the others now. And that is The Walking Dead Series 1, the video game. And this has absolutely no reference to the TV series whatsoever. This is based on the original Walking Dead, the comic book series by Mr. Robert Kirkman. And this stays true to the comic book like the TV series doesn't. I've never seen the TV series, but I love zombies, obviously, and anything in a zombie apocalypse kind of thing, and any kind of horror. And this game is developed and published by Telltale Games. And when I played episode 1, I said to myself that this reminded me, obviously with the multiple questions and answers and all that decision kind of shit, of the old Monkey Island series. And then I looked on here and it says notable titles by Telltale include action game, adventure game adaptations of Sam & Max, Homestar Runner, and Monkey Island. So there is, I believe, some of the old Monkey Island team working on the Walking Dead games, and I can definitely see that. They managed to give the characters a sense of humour at times. Obviously, all the characters are very different. So you can tell it's the old LucasArts as they used to be. Some of that old team still working on this Walking Dead game then, I'm guessing. But it's just a very engrossing, highly moving, intense game. Series 2 has now finished, I believe. I don't know anything that's happened in Series 2, but I will find out very soon because I am going to be buying episodes 1 and 2 next week. Each episode costs £3 to £4, and there was a DLC called 400 Days, which was released in the summer of 2013. But I think this was released, the first episode. Let's have a look here. Episode 1, April 2012, so it's over two and a half years old now. But you take control of Mr. Lee Everett, a man who is on his way to prison in the first episode, and then all the zombie apocalypse shit starts happening. You meet all sorts of characters, and the decisions, they really are intriguing and hard to make. Really good fun watching people play it on Twitch for the first time. It isn't a game that really will have you wanting to come back to it, to be perfectly honest, because once you've played it, I think you've played it and seen all that it has to offer. You can make different decisions, bring different characters with you, see different characters die, make terrible decisions purposely, but overall, once you've completed it, you've completed it. But nevertheless, very intense, very moving, and masterful storytelling from Telltale Games, and I'm not usually all about that, but yeah, absolutely fantastic, and I really enjoyed it. And the ending especially, I don't want to give any spoilers away, but it blew my tits off, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be getting Series 2 very shortly. And like I said, the 400 Days DLC, you take control of 5 separate characters. Each little story lasts about 10-15 minutes, so altogether you've got probably about an hour and a half of gameplay there. That cost me £4 as well. And supposedly your decisions and your actions there will have consequences for what happens in Series 2, so they say. I'll be wondering what happens there, but I have a feeling that some of those characters will return in Series 2. Although, of course, this isn't a spoiler because you know it's going to be the case. A hell of a lot of the characters do die. But yeah, Walking Dead Series 1, thoroughly enjoyed it. I can't wait to play Series 2. And the final game today, ladies and gentlemen, I purchased this in May 2013, I believe. And now I've got the sequel, but I've only started playing the game properly in the last 6 months, playing with friends, playing with a few mates, and also playing with random people online, which is the best way to play this game because playing it one player is just boring. But I bought the sequel, and it is Left 4 Dead 2. The first game, at first I thought it's quite good fun, zombies, a lot of humour. This game is utterly hysterical in my opinion. I find it hilarious. The enemies, the music, the characters, everything about this game makes me laugh. But in the last 6 months or so is when I've started playing it for some reason, went back to it, played with other people online, and realised that, yeah, this is a multiplayer game. It's a great multiplayer experience, and it's always a little bit different because the enemies spawn in different locations, and so it's never quite the same as you go through it. There are 4 or 5 campaigns, I think, on the first game and on the second. There's a few DLCs as well, which I am going to get, called The Passing and The Sacrifice, I believe. But overall, even though there are only, I'd say, 4 or 5 campaigns that last around about an hour if you play on normal mode, it isn't a story-based game, although there is a little bit of a story in the second game, whereas there isn't in the first. But nevertheless, play with different people all the time, and I think you'll have fun. Really good game. I do think I prefer the first game over the second game. I've had this for about a month or so now. Yeah, give or take. And the kind of people that are playing the second game online aren't as mature as the people who are playing the first game. Now, obviously, this is more popular, but I've had a few bad experiences of people shooting each other and stuff like that, and just silliness. I don't see why you would do that. There is a mode where you can play as the monsters against the humans and vice versa. A scavenge mode where you've got to fuel up an engine or a car and get the hell out of there while the other monsters are trying to kill you. You can play with mates online, a normal game. There's quite a lot to do here, to be perfectly honest with you, to keep you coming back. But it just depends if you want to replay the same missions again and again. I don't mind it with different people. I find it really fun. Something I want to talk about, this video is going to be running up to 16 minutes, but oh well, is the cover. As you can see here, that has a peace sign like that. Everywhere else in the world, it is like that. This is a zombie game. It's an 18 certificate game where you're blasting things left, right, and centre, bad language, gore, violence, and guts, and all that kind of shiz. And yet, in the UK, it wasn't allowed to be made like that. You know, wasn't allowed to be released with that cover because it's like obviously that. Even though it isn't, because the other two fingers are still slightly up. I don't know. It's absolutely silly, really, isn't it? But there we go. And I was wondering why, when I bought this, the game, the Left 4 Dead games have kept their value. Other games that are released from 2008, 2009, when the first and second Left 4 Dead games were released, are usually about £4 or £5. But these games are like 12, 13 quid. Even in CEX and Game Station and places like that. And I have a feeling it's either to do with the cover or to do with the fact that you can get the first Left 4 Dead game, the missions, and play as the characters from the first game with the little additions, the new weapons, the new melee weapons, the new enemies in the first game. So really, you don't need to buy the first game physically. But in the second game, you cannot play the missions from the first game if you've actually bought it from legitimate, means, buying it physically. I think, if you understand where I'm coming from here, it just says DLC in brackets. I haven't clicked it yet, but I'm guessing I'll be told that I can't play it. So basically, what I'm saying here is they want me to pay for it twice. Well, they can get fucked because I'm not doing that. Nevertheless, the other DLC I will purchase. We'll see how it goes. But anyway, Left 4 Dead 2. Really good fun, and supposedly there's a third in the pipeline, released in a few years, but I've become a huge fan of the games, and I'm really happy with that. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I will be back next week with my top albums of the 90s list, and until then, I'll see you there.